Hello, everybody, and hello, Sissy. How was your week this week, Sissy?
My week was good. Another good week.
Another good week?
I had a little bit of an emotional breakdown, but, hey, it happens.
Every once in a while, we're entitled to one, are we not?
Yeah, well,
I know what it was from. You had a couple weeks off from doing this, and then you came back, and you're just like, I can't do it anymore.
Yeah,
I can't do it anymore.
No, if I could give one piece of advice to the world, don't stuff your feelings, deal with it.
Yeah.
Because that's it.
Well,
I just had reached my limit and my top blew off.
You gotta have a brain break, Dave.
Yeah.
Sissy. I mean, honestly, for anybody who's listening right now that ever hears anything about mental health awareness and everything else that under the sun, we take these most extreme cases and situations and we think that's not me.
Yeah.
Well, to be honest, there's nothing wrong with taking a mental health day. There's nothing wrong with reaching out and talking to a friend. Oftentimes see these things that are posted on social media. We scroll through it, but it always tugs at my heart when it's something that my friend posts talking about, hey, I'd rather listen to you at 3:00 in the morning than get a phone call that says that you made the wrong decision because you couldn't take whatever burden you were carrying around any longer. Instead of just, reaching out and asking for help.
Well, this time of year, not talking about my experience specifically, I just had a rough day, right?
Yeah.
But, there are a lot of folks that really suffer this time of year for whatever reason. And, we're going here and I just wanted to, hey, if, there are people that are waiting for you to call, call a friend, stay in touch, don't isolate yourself, Yeah. It just gets pretty doggone hard for some people this time of year.
Yeah, well, it's the holidays and people are doing the family thing and people are gearing up for that. Well, this might be the first time that somebody's walking through holidays with the loss of someone or things might have not worked out through the year and they might be experiencing separation from their family for one reason or another.
Right.
The first thing that came to mind when we were talking about this was people just be kind.
Yeah.
You don't know what somebody might be going through. You don't know what things that, are on their mind. And this time of year, everybody's thinking holiday stuff. So sometimes people might not, do everything you want them to do. They might not be having you in their headspace, even though you're in their physical space, right? So just be kind.
Yeah.
Just be kind.
Yeah.
It's always good to do that.
Yeah. And if you're having a bad day, don't throw insults and insinuations on the Facebook.
Yeah.
Because, we have a word for that, and it's called kookamoo.
Kookamoo.
Yeah.
We'll get into that later in the program. But I was going to say my week was rather tumultuous.
Yeah.
So there's your word for the day, folks.
Yeah.
Tumultuous.
Tumultuous. Ooh, I love it.
It was good.
Rolls off the tongue.
I mean, it does. It does. And it, I think, is probably the word that best describes my week in a way. I mean, like I said, we'll get into this later because this show is not all politics all the time. And, even though we are coming into, the last week of being able to vote for what candidate you think or candidates that you think will be the best to lead our community forward.
Yeah.
Right? Man, Sissy, it doesn't matter whether you're running for an election or not. If you step up and you have something to say about some candidates or maybe some behavior that you've seen, we've talked in the past how I'm somebody that's super informed, right? I'm not informed on all things Newton, right? But I strive and I spend the time and I watch these elected officials and I'm involved in these races and I have relationships with them. And I'm not just coming from an informed perspective, right? When I bring something to the table, I think most people know by now that I'm not going to be speaking amiss. Now, we might not agree on the perspective,
right?
But I'm entitled to that, and so are you.
Right.
I just find it very interesting that throughout this week, when I made a few posts on the whole social medias, that there was a lot of accusations thrown out. And I thought,
I did see that.
I wonder if this is how rumors get started. Is the fact that somebody's given some information from somebody they trust, obviously, sadly, if for one reason or another, and that person chooses to betray their trust by telling them something that would present them in the best light possible, that then there becomes this problematic relationship. And it always seems to really surface around election time, because a lot of the people that run for election or are elected officials, especially incumbents, really want to distance themselves from all of the poor decisions that they made during their tenure and would love for everybody to only look at them just like they look at themselves, which is everything good. They've just done everything good.
Yeah.
And then likewise, like I said, we'll get into this later, we have individuals who will sit back and demonize candidates because of poor decisions, while yet excluding the person that they like the most from all of their poor decisions. So,
yeah.
Tumultuous.
Tumultuous. Yeah.
Okay, I know you got some stuff. We talked about some things in the community that we were excited about coming up. I'd like to cover one thing. Shout out to the Lions Club.
Yeah.
I mean, the Halloween walk was a success, went off without a hitch. There are so many community partners that go into that, but they led the way. The Lions led the way in that. The 29th, personally, I was going to go, but I have a 14-month-old baby. So getting down there on that day, which was awful brisk and windy, was probably not the best parental decision. And nobody wanted to hear my screaming baby because they were cold while I was trying to get candy. So we'll pass, and I'll be there for the 30th. But I heard it was great. I had a bunch of people message me and say they missed me. And I told them, hey, my little man has complications already, so let's not add insult to injury. Let's give him a break and not teach him what freezing cold temperature is like with Halloween masks and candy he can't eat this year. Right.
Well, and we don't do that. We don't participate in the Halloween festivities. So, I think there was some classroom parties that occurred and throughout the week, and so there was the Festivus was good for mini Sissy, but we just opted out, and there's so many more things that if you want to get together with friends and enjoy candy. Have a board game night or a card night.
Oh, Sissy.
Keep the youngsters off the streets on All Hallows Eve.
All Hallows Eves, huh?
Too much shenanigans.
So you're one of those people that just don't believe in the Halloweens, huh?
Well,
you don't believe in the getting.
I don't think we have the kind of time.
Boogie.
I don't think we have that kind of time. But for me in my house, we do not participate in the Halloween festivities. Traditional Halloween festivities.
Okay.
So there's that.
We need to go on a deep dive on that, because I'm starting to think about like all the holidays and wanting to pick your brain about why that's the case.
Right. And because there's I don't want to get on a soapbox or anything, but
well, we're getting ready to go into the winter solstice, where we decorate trees and stuff with with lights and gold and silver type looking things.
And I absolutely enjoy this time of year. Try to find the silver linings and all of the commercialization of everything. I really do not like that part of it, but because it seems like everybody's hard up for money now, and things are hard enough, and then when we have all this extra financial pressure that we find ourselves under this time of year, it really irritates me. So anyway, that's my soapbox.
So I'll go with you on that. I mean, we can carry that conversation, Sissy. It is interesting that you mentioned the commercialization of Christmas, and I find that I'm a reader. And I like the history, right? So I read about the history. It's a good partnership, right? Reading history, read history.
Right.
So I do this, and when any kind of things are brought up by people writing things in the past, I mean, we're talking like late 1800s type of a thing, when people really had meager things. They didn't celebrate Christmas the same way we celebrate, I promise you that.
Oh, no.
Now, maybe it's because they didn't have a, supermarket store they could go into and buy all kinds of goodies that everybody else is buying for their kids, as plastic as that sounds. Nothing is necessarily, individual in nature. I've heard of families even doing fun things like everybody's got a budget of, $50 and you have to make something for somebody.
Yeah.
And it gets creative, you know? But there are families that are actively participating in relieving that pressure and making it more about the time and the reason for the season.
Right.
As opposed to, let me go drop $3,000, $5,000, $10,000 on Christmas, because there are people that do this.
Sure.
There absolutely
and
is.
if you choose to do it, I'm not saying that that's a wrong thing.
Merry
right?
Christmas.
Right. And, I'm all about the thoughtfulness that goes into homemade gifts.
Yeah.
Whether it be something you can consume or something you can use or a piece of furniture, some person that cared enough about me, let's just use me for an example, that when I'm enjoying that thing, whatever that is, I think about the time that they took to think of me and plan that out and then produce that thing and then give it. And how wonderful it must have been for them to give that gift when they had invested themselves so much. So, and in turn, I would do that as well. So
we must have been to Walmart recently because we've got every season we've just talked about in the last 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Christmas, Thanksgiving. Well, we didn't hit Thanksgiving. I was going to say I love Thanksgiving because I have a big house, right? And a big family. And so then now I get to be the person that says, hey, everybody come over to my house and have turkey dinner.
Yeah.
And so it's a time of just enjoyment and family and community. I mean, I get a real good feeling because of that, Sissy, inside.
Yeah. You got to share the love, right?
Yeah. Oh, we're getting sidetracked.
Yeah.
Okay. I got to throw a couple things out here that we happened last week that we would want to cover. We had talked in the past about the Constitution essay that took place, that there would be scholarships and stuff. Well, that was handed out. This was a post put out by Newton Schools on Facebook, so I'm going to read it real quick. It says that 3 Newton High School students, or 3 Newton High School seniors, were honored Wednesday evening in the NHS Media Center for their involvement in an inaugural Constitution essay contest. Eric Kaufman got first place. Preston Vicenci, I believe, is second, and Kate Nimhard, I don't know, last names, I'm sorry.
Yep.
But got third out of the pool of 8 students who participated in the contest earlier this semester. They had to do a 750 word or less to answer the following question. The question was, what protections did the Constitution provide to prevent the establishment of a tyrannical government from either foreign and or domestic threats? Boom.
Yeah.
We never got the question, did we, Sissy?
No, we didn't.
We talked to Mike Fellows, who is the one who did this. I mean, really got this started.
Right.
Was the tip of the spear and being able to do this. And I know there's been so much involvement since this time that people really like this and want to have this held in their schools, countywide, and maybe even at some point in time statewide. And it's just interesting to think that of all the things that matter in our education, the Constitution is not one of them, it seems like, right? Second, that, this was an original idea. I mean, other people have done this, right? But in our local community, it hadn't been done before, and it was an original idea that was put forth, and I just got to send a huge shout out to Mike Fellows for doing it.
Yeah.
And I think it's just going to grow. They even had Senator Carolyn McGinn there. They had Representatives Avery Anderson and Representative Stephen Owens. They were the ones who presented the prizes and talked about the importance of the Constitution in our democracy. So it looks like it's just going to be moving forward in a positive direction.
Yeah. 750 words. If you've ever written a paper, it seems like 750 words is a lot when you start.
Yeah.
But that is a fairly open-ended general question, but can very well have a very narrow scope. Yeah. And I applaud them for being able to whittle down to 750 words and put together a rock star of an essay. Obviously, out of the 8, there were 3 finalists. And so, I'd be curious to read I would love to read their papers. Yeah.
Well, I know that one of them is planned, so it has been or it will be published in the Kansan, I believe.
Oh, there you go.
I might be misspeaking on that, but I'll say right up front, I do believe that was one of the things that were going to happen. And I'll be honest, I've spent a lot of time on social media this last week. I didn't get a chance to read all of the papers. They're all sitting on my desk at home. Right. I skimmed them. And tomorrow I'm going to just take a brain break. And what I do on my brain break is read papers. And
right.
I mean, I don't have a brain break.
Right.
I'm sorry. But.
So speaking of tomorrow.
Okay.
Tomorrow is the deadline to RSVP for the November 11th Celebrity Servers that's coming up. That is the 11th annual Harvey County Circle of Hope Celebrity Servers event. Saturday, November 11th from 5 to 8 p.m. There's a 3-course meal happening at Water's Edge Restaurant in Heston. And tip money will go to the Harvey County Circle of Hope. But the most interesting thing about this is that we've had some notable community members that have signed up to be those celebrity servers.
Yeah, which is cool.
Yeah, and I started off my screenshot list with the mayor, Mr. Leroy Kane.
Yep.
And Vice Mayor, Mr. Rod Cry, who we've had numerous times on our program as a guest. And then I also have seen some other folks in town. I believe Melissa Schreiber, school board candidate and incumbent, is also signed up to do that. And Sheriff Chad Gay.
Yeah,
so,
that'd be fun.
Hopefully that will come off, and a lot of people will patronize that restaurant on that night and give back to the community. Because I know Circles of Hope is a really important program, helping people to network for services and become educated on certain things.
Where they need help.
Yeah,
where you need help. They want to educate people.
And life skills and things like that. I'm not exactly sure of everything they do. I know there's a financial education facet that they provide. So, that's necessary. I mean, my own mother has tried repeatedly to teach me how to reconcile a bank statement.
Yeah.
And I don't. I don't know how to do it. I can't wrap my brain. So, she has just said, well, good thing there's mobile banking.
That's
right.
That's right. We don't need all that nonsense no more. It's digitized.
Yeah. So
the best way and the way to go, by the way.
So also happening this weekend, on Saturday night before you go to bed, don't forget to set your clocks back, because we fall back off of daylight savings time in between Saturday night and Sunday morning. Don't be late to church, folks.
Speaking of digital things, is it possible?
Or early. I guess you'd be early an hour.
Yeah. Is it possible to forget to set your time back now?
Sure.
How many people have forgotten to set that? Have missed? I mean, just asking, because I know that my phone, I use my phone for my alarm.
Yeah.
So it changes overnight.
Right.
Right. I've done, the alarm has gone in the trash years ago. My phone wakes me up and tells me good night.
Yeah. Oh, it tells you good night?
You can have it tell you good night if you want to. You know that, right?
I don't think I want Siri talking to me good night.
You've never been laying in bed on a night and said, Siri, play me something soft and sweet so I can. Oh
my goodness.
Close my eyes. And
no, I threw my Alexa in the garbage when she started talking to me without being prompted.
Oh.
So no,
you're not embracing the AI, are you?
My Siri is an Australian gentleman. So if he starts talking to me at bedtime when I'm about half asleep laying there, then I might chuck the phone.
Say, read me a nighttime story.
Oh, heavens.
Read me a bedtime story. And it will. I'm sure of it. I would almost have to probably ask you, what story would you like me to read to you, Sissy?
Yeah, no. I don't think so. I read
something about AI and speaking of things.
Yeah.
It only takes 3 seconds of an AI software to hear your voice before it can manufacture your voice into anything it wants you to say.
Wow. That's
or
comforting.
I guess I should say that you want it to say, because AI works for us.
That's comforting.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, they've got hours and hours of us.
You're the conspiracy theorist, and lately I've been bringing up some interesting conspiracies, and we haven't dwelled on them. We've just went by them.
No, conspiracy
theorist. You're a theorist.
I was going to do the Wonder Twins activate thing, but I tongue tied.
All right, but before we get too long, and we're talking about, I got two things. We went to schools and we're talking about the Constitution essay contest. Well, there's another organization that, the Newton Schools posted. Actually, it was Harvey County DFY. The Newton Schools received the Kansas Prevention Coalition's Prevention Education Award.
Hey.
They're thankful for the partnership with DFY and for all the ways they support youth making healthy choices in the community. And that's a pretty nice recognition there.
Yeah.
It seems like every time we turn around, Newton Schools is getting recognition. Just hand over fist. We're getting tons of them.
Right.
And I wonder, are people, is this being adequately communicated to the greater region so people can see what kind of awesome stuff we have going on here?
Well, I don't know. We're doing our part.
We're trying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the Harvey County DFY, that's the Harvey County Drug-Free Youth Coalition, right?
Yes,
okay.
That's correct. And, I'll go here. I was invited to go to a luncheon just this last week. I attended. And man, it was moving, Sissy. I mean, it really was. They had done a PowerPoint presentation. They had different people from the organization stand up in their role and talk about what they do and a little bit about. So it was a shared PowerPoint presentation, and it even included a bunch of youth, right? Stand board members. These youth are getting up there in front of a group of people, putting themselves out there, talking about what they do and how they want to engage and interact with other youth to prevent them from first use. There was a lot of education on it. And I mean, I'm for it. I'm for it. Right. I'm 100% behind this. They had some good, they just received some more grant funding. So they have another few years of grant funding to be able to continue to impact the community through Stand in this way. You rock. You're all rock stars. It was interesting, though, because even though I had talked with Chad in the past about how the Railway came about and the life of a the life of an athlete, they brought that up. Like they brought up, as I'm sitting there, the life of an athlete, the Railway, why we have the Railway, and it put a bunch of things together for me, you know. And I'm just gonna say it, people. It was personal for me. Okay. I think it was personal for a lot more people than some in our community and our leadership thought it was, because the end justified the means. And when there was the situation that took place where there was a student who was caught on video participating in activity that was not okay and illegal, let's just say, that then when that board got involved to override what was already an established order of things and how they were going to be held as they were in every other situation, they just completely removed any backbone that entire thing had. And when I say backbone, meaning consequences at a communal level, at a community level at school. We talked about this in the past. Obviously, it takes all to be on board, but I am still just very unhappy with the fact that people are out here justifying, and I want to say ignorantly, okay? And the reason I say ignorantly is because, you know, it's sad that if you trust, let's say, an elected official to tell you what's going on, and they give you a perspective and they give you what you believe to be the truth in the matter, and it happens not to be, then that's really not on you. But at the same time, it's very unfortunate that we do have elected officials, and this is kind of the nature of politics today. It just in general. And it's with our kids. That's the hardest thing for me.
Right. Well, speaking of voting, right? We know that is getting ready to wind down to Election Day. We're just a few days out. You and I both have gone to do early voting.
Yep.
We've shared our various experiences, our thoughts, and assumptions and projections here, there, and everywhere. You know, I think it's really, really important. I shared day before yesterday, I think, is when I went and I took my mini sissy with me, and I posted that on the social medias to say, you know, and encourage people, hey, get out there, first of all, right? Do your duty, right? And participate civically, but also if you have an opportunity to take a young person with you, you know, a youngster, it's never too early to expose them to civics or civic processes and, you know, let them ask questions. I mean, she didn't have a whole lot of questions for the folks that were working, but the ladies sure asked a lot of questions because she was supposed to be in school.
Yeah.
They had forgotten that the school was out or didn't know. They were older. And so they had lots of questions of, oh, how are you today? You know, what are you doing here? You know, did you come to vote? You know, really giving her the yuck. And it was a really cool experience for her to be welcomed, I think. I mean, from my observation, of course, you know, I'm Super Bowl season when there's an election cycle, you know. So,
well, I think most people that vote probably feel that it's fairly important.
Well,
I mean, they're taking the time to show up to vote. That
Right.
means something.
But the thing that's disheartening to me is out of all the registered voters in this county,
I know what you're going to say.
there's only been 272 people that have gone so far. And that was, I believe, as of yesterday, according to a post by Rick Pivo. You know, that is a small chunk of the population. And I have no idea how many ballots have been returned. There was 1,100 and something ballot requests that went out. You know, but for people going in, I know that they're very generous with the hours that they're working those early voting polls.
Yep.
And
Rick gives everybody a chance to vote. That's why I like Rick. Is because he truly stands by what his responsibility is. And it's regardless of whether you think somebody should be able to vote or not vote a certain way, because you think that only anybody should be able to vote this way. That's not how it works. And by him having and making the decision to have it open for longer extended period of time on Saturday, even at one point in time, it just encourages people to go vote. There's really no excuse.
Right.
No excuse. And it really is sad. And I don't know if it's just we're speaking to one another here and we're both interested in the same thing and we both have, the belief that we need to be involved in the process and we're passionate about it. We want to be informed and we take the time. We take the time, right? This is our Super Bowl. For a lot of people, this is just not for them.
Right.
And I hate to say it, it's because of the negative things that they believe in association with voting. My vote doesn't count. Yes, your vote counts. Well, no, it really doesn't. Well, yeah, it does. And then if we allow the same pervasive mentality to rot away at the culture of our country, which is that you go out and you vote because you have the ability when so many people across this globe don't. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to go into national politics right now, but maybe I'm wrong, Sissy. I mean, I know what a lot of other world leaders are saying about our country. And the truth is that elections have consequences,
That's
and
true,
who we
they
put
do.
in office is who we put in office. And if you don't go vote, then you're not putting forth the effort to put somebody in office that's a good person to be in office to serve the people that they're supposed to serve at that level. And it almost seems like the ship has been run aground.
Well, I'm hoping to see some more folks out there. You have tomorrow, Friday, and Saturday, the 4th, from 9 to 2 p.m., and Monday, November 6th, the day before voting day, 8 to noon.
Yeah, they got to close up shop early.
Right. So election day obviously is Tuesday, November 7th, but you will have to go to your assigned poll station to vote, whereas all these other times we're talking about take place at the courthouse behind the in the hallway behind the clerk's office. So if you go all the way down the hall and then turn left, you'll see the signs. So there's some nice ladies waiting to take your photo ID, which is required, remember. Don't forget that. And if your address doesn't match, they can pull you up. If that matches, you don't have to have proof of address.
That's right.
But if it does not, please make sure that you follow those
guidelines and recommendations set forth by your Kansas State Legislature.
Right. More information can be found on the Harvey County election website, hvcoksvote.gov. That's hvcoksvote.gov. And
I would have to add, speaking of election day, as always, and we're going to say we're sending a lot of plug out to the Newton Lions Club. So you Newton Lion Club members, you better share away because we're plugging you. So every election day, the Newton's Lion Club has a pancake feed, and it is at the Newton Recreation Center. It's from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. It's all you can eat pancakes plus sausage, scrambled eggs, juice, milk, and coffee, and it's all by donation.
Awesome.
So the Newton's Lion Club, you can look them up on Facebook. It looks like they have a tag of a 2023 Newton Lions Club pancake feed, so that you can, say you're interested or say you're going, and then your phone will tell you. That old AI will help you get where you need to go.
Right.
It'll alert you
Right.
6:30 in the morning if you need, so you can get up, go eat some pancakes, and go vote.
Yeah. Speaking of good, wholesome eating, that does sound pretty tasty.
I'm going to be there.
Right. So do you eat Tyson chicken?
Oh. Yeah, I do actually. Yeah. Sometimes
well,
I
we
batter
don't
back
anymore
and forth
because I can't
between-
afford it. But
Yeah.
I buy something else.
I always do this. To tell you the truth, you go into the Dillons, and the Dillons sometimes has Tyson chicken where you buy one, you get one free,
Yeah.
and then I load up. I'm one of those people.
Yeah.
I'll go buy like 6 of them if I can.
Yeah, right.
Sometimes they have stipulations on that, but a way around that is just to ring them up each individual transaction. So you just do 2, and then you pay for it, and you do 2, and you pay for it.
Well, there you go.
It's like extreme coupon.
And then,
extreme coupon.
Man, those people are crazy.
Yeah. Crazy smart.
They like 57
Dedicated.
cents out of $2,000 one time I saw. I'm like, how in the world? Anyway, well, it's a full-time job, right?
Yeah.
there.
Can't turn around and sell it, I don't think.
Okay, so I
legally.
saw this thing on the Twitter, right? Or the X, I guess what it's called now. I do not know if it is accurate or not, but I found it interesting. So it's a meme, and it says Tyson also owns Hillshire Farm, Sara Lee, Jimmy Dean, Ballpark, Gallo, Pierre, State Farm, Original Philly, Steak Ease brands. Okay, so I said all that to say this. They're supposedly implementing certain bugs, mealworms, and grasshoppers, crickets, mealworms, and grasshoppers to be exact, under interesting names. I assume they're the scientific classifications, but you know how the Agenda 2030, the New World Order thing, the Klaus Schwab, you eat the bugs, the things, they're trying to do
green.
this, right? Okay,
being
so
people for too long.
crickets, I'm going to try to pronounce these, and who knows? They might be there. I haven't checked. I would probably gross myself out to the point where I will never eat these brands again, just because, right? Okay, so crickets are Acheta domesticus, Grillodus siligatus, mealworms, Tenebrio molitor, grasshoppers are Locusta migratura. Okay, so like I said, I do not have verification background on this, but it would be interesting to check the label for any of those wacky things I just tried to pronounce.
Well, and speaking of that, I got a question about that. Okay. I can take this 2 ways, Sissy. One being that they put things that we don't or are not aware of, they're putting in our food. I've kind of just come to the conclusion that I accept that.
All right.
I've watched food evolve over time, people. If you've been paying attention,
Right.
gets a little bit more strange as we go along. And it's very lucrative what our FDA and federal government allows to be put in food, or us not to be told is in our food.
Right.
So we won't go there.
Right.
But let's talk about the relevancy of what we see on social media.
Oh, okay.
And I want to take this because it seems like people will believe anything they see, right?
Kind of like
saying,
this.
Well, I'm not saying that's not the case. I watched a video a while back, and we talked about it on the program. I'm 100% sure of it, where the person was just doing a 30-second blip. And what it was is it was talking about not believing things that you are seeing as though they are real unless you're seeing it in person. And maybe some of you else saw this. I'm sure you probably did. It's the way algorithms work. But this guy's hat just disappeared. And then all of a sudden the background fell away.
Oh.
And then all of a sudden his face changed. And then the lighting changed. And everything changed about the whole thing until he was just standing there in a room. And it was like, you can create this with AI.
Right.
You can make people think something is happening that it's not. I see posts about people talking about trusting the media. We just last week covered briefly, because we're not, well, I mean, I don't know. I'm not an international commentator on all things,
Right.
Hamas, so I'm not going to go deep on that. But just the general things that we talk about is what a common informed person would be able to deduce
Right.
from watching the situation. I
Right.
mean, any one, what we said, any one of your major news networks, the terminology that we used and some of the things that we talked about, people would understand and be able to have dialogue with us based on
Right.
that.
Right.
But when you're talking about, we see these. Like I know I was watching a major news outlet, and it had pictures of these militant fighters who had their banners on of their respective whatever jihad flag or
Right,
whatever.
right.
I mean, I don't know. I'm not getting into this deep. I'm just talking about it from your middle of Kansas Main Street viewpoint. But how is it that when that picture comes to your screen and you're visualizing that you even know that there's honesty in journalism to the point where those are the pictures that they were actually taking, or were they just pulled up from Shutterstock, or were they just pulled up from
Right.
somewhere else? I mean, is it this loose? Like, what we're seeing, is it what we're really seeing?
Right.
Is it just an illusion, Sissy? And I mean, we can't doubt everything, but my question is when are people going to wake up and start having some subjective thinking?
I think do people really pay attention to the images and the videos? I mean, especially if the talking head is there and it's, beside them or whatever.
That's a good question.
You
How much relevance is behind that? Is that what you're asking? Like, does it really matter what
Well-
the picture looks like if they're covering content that's...
Well,
You know?
and see, a lot of these groups have been around for a long time. And, for the last 25 or 30 years, you could take a clear color photo with a fairly decent digital camera that the majority of the press people or journalists have at their ready, right?
An Apple phone.
Right.
Yeah, an iPhone.
Even an
Yeah.
iPhone now, last 10 or 15 years, you
it's
can take
nothing
a
like
pretty
when we-
decent.
nothing like when we were
you know.
growing up in cameras.
Right. And you can edit that and make that larger or clear that up and,
Pull people
airbrush
directly
that,
off of it.
things like that. So
Cut and copy and
But-
paste.
the stock images, I think, have been around a while. And I think that the networks, to get something on the air, right, to get something rolling to the public,
to be the first.
or, to be the
Yeah,
first,
yeah.
right?
It's like a
And-
PowerPoint presentation.
Yeah, Twitter is really, really bad about that. And here lately, some folks have had to retract a few of their breaking news tweets that they
Yeah.
were completely wrong because they were fed wrong information from the news medias, right? The professionals.
Yeah.
And
Ouch.
one of those stories was the 40 beheaded and dismembered Israeli babies.
Yeah, ouch.
Right, that was a complete fabrication
Yeah.
done by CNN
Yeah,
of
yeah.
all news bureaus, right? So anyway, and
Well, do
that
you
was
think that there's an ulterior
a
motive there?
rogue reporter or whatever,
Okay.
according to what
Speaking
their
from my
statement
own
was.
opinion and personally, not just my own free speech here, do you think there's a possibility that something like that was done to be able to discredit the overall effort, given what you think and what I believe, my perspective of what is taking place on a national level and what some of this propaganda that these news organizations such as CNN have been doing?
Well, I
I
think
mean, we're going deep here, people, but I
Yeah.
mean,
Well, it's
you can't
all
tell me that
propaganda, right?
we're the only ones having this conversation in our community. You can't tell me that.
No,
You can't tell me that.
And this is why you hear about every third person you have a conversation with about the media these days. They say, well, I don't believe anything I see or hear anymore.
Yeah.
Because not just because of AI possibilities, but because
There's some
I
message,
on my
agenda.
laptop, I could take a video or record something with my phone, and I could doctor it on my own laptop
Yeah.
and upload it to Twitter.
Yeah, well, what I also like is the fact that
I don't know how to do that,
Yeah.
but I'm a layperson.
Oh, it can be done.
Anyone can do it. Is my point.
I'll tell you
right?
what, about any of your social media platforms such as Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter. I don't know about Twitter. I'm not a tweetie, or I'm not an Xer. I don't know what the heck you
Right.
call it. It's whatever. It's Elon
Right.
Musk's thing. But I really don't do that. Sissy's more into the tweetins or whatever they are. Once again, Xins. What do they call it now? It's
Zeet.
not. It's a Zeet. Oh,
Yeah.
it's not an X. It's a Z.
It's a Zeet.
Because of I got it.
Yeah.
I got it.
But it's called X.
Okay.
But the tweets are not tweets anymore. They're Zeets with an Xeets. Zeet. I don't know. Anyway,
I guess if you want to bury a company, you bury it in its entirety. And that's what Elon Musk is doing. Is there's not going to be, I wonder if people even remember that there was a little blue birdie.
I don't know.
And that it was a tweety.
Yeah.
By the time 10 years pass by, only anybody's going to know about Zeets and X.
I think it will always be Twitter for me.
Us.
Because I've been using Twitter for years. So,
it's like Facebook tried to call it MySpace or something.
No, it was going to be MyFace and Spacebook, wasn't it? Yeah. Somebody was going to invent those. We used to laugh
crazy.
at our parents because that's what they used to call MySpace and Facebook back in the day. Yeah.
Isn't it crazy? I mean, we talk about AI and we say crazy. That's a very subjective term. But I'll say this. I think it's absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible what AI means for us as humanity. And I think it's equally incredible that most people, and I mean most people, have absolutely no idea how deep that actually goes, like to predictive thinking and suggestive selling and what your phone hears everything you say. I mean, you know, I mean, you'd be a crazy person if you told somebody 20 years ago, hey, there's going to be a phone and it's going to record everything you say. Well, maybe not 20 years ago, maybe 25, because, you know, I mean, we had some things happen here in our country that allowed for us to just give all of our rights away to our government to,
in the name of safety.
In the name of safety.
Speaking of in the name of safety, okay, two things from the White House in the last 48 hours. Are you ready?
No, but yes, go for it.
So they're going to there is an executive order to regulate artificial intelligence. So there's that, and that is a
but
deep
an executive
conversation.
Order to do this,
an executive order,
and that's within the power of the executive
AI.
branch to do that. Isn't that something that Congress should be doing?
Well, you can go to whitehouse.gov and search AI, and I believe it was day before yesterday's date on it. But there's a release, and there is a link to all of these different actions that the feds are going to impose upon the creation of AI, the dissemination of AI, the use of AI, and the whatever of AI. So that's, in the name of safety, right? Because we can't have somebody getting duped by some AI. Anyway, so the other thing was...
but isn't that well within your liberty to provide entertainment? I mean, when we live in a subjective world that we do, and people think that reality shows are actually reality instead of a script that was submitted to a company in the name of a quote unquote reality program, right? So we're this deep, okay? People are this deep of not understanding the process, right? They really will just kind of believe whatever they see without having critical thought or subjective judgment. I mean,
and that's the concern that
the government needs to take care of that for you. They need to make sure that nobody's duping you by AI because you're too dumb to be able to figure it out on your own.
That's it.
Yeah. Well, hey, safety, that goes back to what you were talking about, safety. Does any of this frustrate anybody? It's like, this is why we're doing this program. If you want to ask why I ever got involved in anything I ever got involved is because I wanted to make a difference.
Right.
And you can do that by your voice.
Right.
And now I'm in a much better position throughout all of the things that I've tried to accomplish over the 6 years for my voice, my perspective to be heard. And you know what? If you don't like it, don't vote for me. That's what I've been telling people lately. When you go into the ballot box this November 7th, just don't check my name on the ballot if you don't like what I have to say. Or you don't think that I should be somebody that can have a perspective, especially about your candidate, because I got news for you. People will believe anything. And it's not just AI, Sissy. I mean, I wanted to say something about this. I know you saw a post come over the headlines. Most people think that, I don't care what you think, but I'm just going to be honest with you. This HCTalk does have very many, has a few hands in it, not just mine. But because this is my company, then I am the one responsible for it, right? So if somebody is commenting as HCTalk, and you don't like what they have to say, and you don't think that I'm going to support that perspective, then I'll let you know when I don't. But otherwise, I am HCTalk. HCTalk is me. The people that are with us in our business and our grouping, we have conversations about things, and ultimately I'm the one that's responsible for it. So I got into a little bit of a conversation this week with some people on social media, and I'm not going to say it was unwarranted. I know what I step out into when it comes to making comments about policy and about politics and candidates. We've already discussed previously that, I'm not the know-it-all, but I'm in the know all the time, right? I want to know. I want to know what's going on. I'm the one that wanted to know why they weren't doing what they were supposed to be doing when it came to the emergency meeting to burn the railway to the ground for one student. I'm there to witness the craziness that I see unfold when it comes to special interests in keeping a school open when you don't have to keep a school open because all the classrooms will fit into one. There's so much that's been going on here, right? And it's interesting how uninformed some people really are, right? They will believe anything somebody tells them. They won't go and search on their own. They will believe whatever somebody tells them. So, in light of that, the post was Informed Citizen Candidates for School Board was put out by Newton Citizens United, which is an organization that just advocates on behalf of nonpartisanship when it comes to nonpartisan elections, and that they want the people to be informed about these individuals and these candidates in the community, and then therefore endorse. Okay? Nothing wrong with this. Unless I suppose you're somebody that doesn't agree with that. So then all of a sudden you're the wrong one, right? Anyway, I put out a post that said, it appears there are some informed citizens in our community who want us to vote for these candidates. Do they have your vote? And boy, you'd kind of be interested in some of the beliefs of some of the people that wouldn't vote for these individuals. And they were so off base that is incredible. Incredible. Yeah. I mean, throwing out accusations. And you know what? It was a very few. I mean, total, I think there was probably 4 people that commented openly. One person was fairly cordial. Well, now at this point, 2 people were cordial, and then some just had no real explanation. I mean, and we're throwing out total blatant untruths.
Yeah.
Total blatant untruths. No, Walton did not have a waiting list and hadn't for a while. No, the kids at Walton didn't have higher test scores than in all the other kids. That wasn't a reality. Yes, we stand to lose money or to spend money that we shouldn't have spent on keeping a facility open in a location. No different than if it was a school that was in Newton. What if all the schools were in Newton and not in Walton? Okay, and didn't have a special program there that everybody loves so much. Just they loved the program so much that when they were given the opportunity to get on board with a committee for rural life to bring it to 373, they didn't. Right. And the only people that are commenting negative about the individuals that are on here have believed untruths by people they trust.
Right.
And I'm not going to even get into the railway bullying. This young man was bullied. We already covered this in the past. I'm sorry, but if we use that standard, then every teacher who sends your kid to the office because they were acting inappropriately is a bully. Anybody that has to be responsible for the consequences of their choices were bullied by the people that were the administrator of those consequences. Let's live in a society in which, well, there's always somebody that's doing something to somebody else. I mean, for instance, this video, when this evidence was procured, well, I didn't realize that procurement of evidence and dissemination of that was somehow bullying somebody. Does that mean every time somebody goes and commits a crime that somehow or another the person that gives the police their surveillance video and says, hey, I was looking at my surveillance video and I noticed a month ago that there was this that happened and I wanted to turn that over to you? Well, you can't do that. You're bullying people. You're bullying them. Oh, what? Because I don't, how about this? We'll even go any farther. It was bullying because the person waited so long to give it up.
Right.
Because they wanted to wait until that inopportune time. Okay, so punish them for bullying. And then punish the person for the decisions that they made. I mean, we're down to this is favoritism on a level unseen. And this is hypocrisy in people in my community that I just really wish, especially when we're coming to a nonpartisan election, we would stay away from. I've heard so many lies about so many people that are just absolutely misinformed, and it happens every election cycle, and I just don't understand how there's such a disconnect. You know, I will talk with you. If you think that Walton should have remained open and I think that Walton should remain closed, we can have a discussion. We can walk away from the table, and I can understand that you're somebody that wants to have Walton stay open. And I was somebody that thought it wasn't fiscally responsible. Right? But if I'm sitting here going, no, my kids, they deserve to go here, not your kids. No, we need to prop up this school because it's helping out this community. Oh, we need to, you know, all of these other reasons. And then to throw out like, that was the only school making money.
Making money.
Now we're the only school making money, Sissy. Didn't you know that this person owns this? And they don't, I mean, it's unbelievable at what some of these people in our community, and I'm just going to tell you people, the only time that we're ever going to be able to overcome stuff like this in our community, and it's just the truth, is if we individually take ownership for what we hear, and before we speak it, going back to that old telephone, isn't that what it was?
Right.
Did I get that right this time, Sissy? Telephone? You know, we've been talking about this for a while, and I'm just to the point where I want to see a change in my community. If I hear something about somebody, I am just going to, it's going to stay with me. And then I'm going to either call that person, or I'm going to figure out how to talk to that person, or find out whether that information is true or accurate. And if it's not, I'm letting it dead in the water. I'm not going to repeat it. I'm not going to say it. And I'm not going to, just on a final note, say what you want about me as well. I'm not stopping this anytime soon. So I'm sorry for that rant. I'm not trying to monologue here, Sissy, but, you know, we're 1 week away from election. It's obvious that we're trying to support a group of people that would consider them informed citizens, and knowing some of them, I would say they are, obviously, and have skin in the game in the process, just like they said they wanted. A committee to be able to be a part of that. And from there, then now we're moving in the direction of a positive trend. You know, people can get behind this. They can get behind this message. People are tired of this politic crap. They're tired of, you know, I mean, I could even go into just talking about how there was one family around here that was perfectly fine when Butler Rural Electric came in to put a solar panel farm in on their property. But now that there's a possibility a solar farm might not go on their property, then they don't want for anybody to have a solar farm. They want it banned in Harvey County. I can't understand this hypocrisy. I can't understand it.
You
but
should
I guess,
be able to understand that.
Well, you know, hey, I guess true.
Right.
Part of my frustration with politics is the fact that, well, people will use political organizations such as Republican Party, a Democrat Party, or a party. People will make committees, right? So they can advance their own special interest. And once they hijack that stuff, then it bars out anybody else from using that same process to produce different outcome rather than what they're trying to consume for their own selfish ambitions and needs. That's the state of politics. Consumers, not servers. Man, I just went deep, didn't I, Sissy?
Yeah.
I went on a rant. I'm sorry. You just sit there and listen to me monologue for the last I don't know how many minutes, and I apologize. But I'm passionate about it, and it is what it is. 1 week from election date, and we'll see what the people vote, how they vote.
Well, I think the school board election, you know, the city election is pretty important too, because that's going to set up who the mayor and vice mayor will be on down the line.
Yeah.
So there always should, you know, be mindful of that. But I think the school board election, there really is going to be some different folks, I think, and you know, I am hopeful that whoever is on, whether it's all the incumbents and no new people, or a mixture, or no incumbents and all new people. Did I say that twice? I'm sorry.
Either way.
You know, even if nothing changes and the same incumbents are reelected, right, and no new people are on there. You know, I'm really hoping that whoever it is will understand that the community has spoken from a lot of different perspectives, And there's a lot of different types of people that have come forward at these meetings and have contacted various board members, some with children in the district, some retired, no children, some from other communities that are, hey, I'm watching this and this is a fire that's catching, right?
Yes.
You want to put this out,
Yes.
get rid of this, right? Because this is going to take your whole ship down, right? So I'm hoping that there, because I've heard it from them all.
Yeah.
We're going to take the experience that we've learned and we're going to use that in a different, more positive way.
Yes.
A more accountable and transparent way.
Yep.
Okay, let's now watch and see.
Yes. Well,
So,
you couldn't have
that's where
said
we're
it
at.
better. You couldn't have said it better. If there was hope for the future, you just gave me some. That once again, we have an opportunity for people to start new and start fresh no matter what happens after the election.
Right.
And I agree with you.
Yeah.
All right, Sissy, we're coming up on the end of the program. Sorry, people, for monologuing so much, but I just had to get it all in there by the end of it. One more thing. I interviewed Under Sheriff Sean Chapman. Did you see any of those little clips coming out?
I did. Yeah.
Look forward to that. That'll be coming out in the next few
Yep.
days, people.
Absolutely.
Yeah, great interview, great man, great leader in our community. Boy, if I couldn't have Chad as my sheriff, I would want Sean as my sheriff.
Well, there you go.
And I'm glad that he's the under sheriff, and I hope that he's planning on being here for many, many, many years to come.
All right.
I appreciate you, Sean, and I look forward to releasing that video. So,
Yeah.
All right, Sissy, you got the final word, and you get to speak directly to the hearts and minds of all of those listening to the program this week. What do you have to say?
I don't know. Do something kind for someone. It's important. Kindness matters.
Kindness matters. Well, folks, there you have it, and thanks for listening to this episode of Harvey County Talk. I was your host, Lance Gormley.
And I was your co-host, Sissy.
We'll see you next week, everybody.